Hi, this is Bubs. Sorry it took us so long to make a video. Um, we just been really busy this month and whatever. So I'm gonna be talking about with my last video, I kind of wanted deleted it, but I didn't know how to remove it off of YouTube. So I'm just instead just you know redo everything and make a separate video and say this is the legitimate video, whatever. So I wasn't really fully prepared last time, but hopefully I am now. So I say so is too much. I should probably stop. Anyways, 5000 BC is where this tale was supposed to start, and then it's still the same. BC stands for Babylon City. So the build of Babylon City was 5,000 years ago, and Babylon City is still the same kind of layout, major city in the middle, and then other countries and lands around its borders and stuff, whatever. So, in the year 5000, Cog, Wilfus, Mar, and Mar were born, and kind of the story is the same. Some wizard dude appeared before a king and offered him to have his line be super powerful and strong, the strongest anybody will ever see and they'll ever have, and the king agreed to it, but asked for his general son that was going to be born to also be a part of it. So the guy gave the general's son more of a heavy dosage than the king's own son, because he's then be the guardian, the protector of both of his sons. So he has to be super strong to protect them. Because if you have a bodyguard that's weaker than you, then what's the point of the bodyguard? Whatever. So, yeah. They give birth to the kids, and the kids were born 5000 BC, and then in the year 5004 BC, the Great Sickness hits Babylon City. It seemed to be a virus or a plague or whatever, just swooped in and hit everyone. Everybody from the entire city and all the lands bordering that city fell greatly ill and sick. A bunch of people did die, and others just barely managed to survive. Nobody knew the cause of the sickness or why it disappeared. It lasted only like 4 months. So, sorry. My nose was itching. I didn't need to say that. Anyways, after Babylon was hit with the Great Sickness, it kind of crippled Babylon City and whatever. Like, borders broke up, people were trying to quarantine people and stuff during it, but just seemed to slip through, and there was a lot of uneasiness because one part country, whatever that was bordering it, like blocked it off from everyone and didn't want to try and get it. And then they got hit by it, so they opened their borders and then started begging everybody else to help them. And they were like, you couldn't help us during our time of need, why should we help you? And whatever created hostilities, and the sickness did spread out beyond and went throughout the world, kind of. But whatever. Well, it's not whatever, it's kind of important, but whatever. I said it again. Oh, me. Yeah, so the sickness didn't spread too far. Like, when I say too far, I mean like it only went halfway towards where Cog, Wilfus, and Mar live. So, like, halfway, spread half around the world, pretty much. So, that happened, and everything started to go back to normal. The city of Babel was slowly struggling to regain alliance, and they kind of built it so that they did have some form of stableness, whatever. In the year 5010, Wilfis and Mar. Is the firstborn and Mar is the secondborn. Wilfis and Mar are actually twins, but Wilfis came first. So, whatever. Wilfis and Mar became king because the old king died, and Wilfis and Mar both decided to become king, and there was no point of them being hostile to each other or trying to have one person be king and the other not. They decided both to be king, so they both became king, and it was a huge, like, outrage and yelling and confusion in the parts of the land, and they're like, you can't have two kings, there should only be one, but they're the ones that are running the shots now, calling the shots now. It's not running the shots, it's calling. What? Okay, whatever. So they started to build their kingdom, and they were doing a pretty great job. And Babel City was just like struggling and struggling again because old wounds opened up during this time. So between 5004 and 5010, they were like all right after the Great Sickness and stuff, but they were still struggling. And then in the year 5011 BC, Wilfis and Mar make Cog king as well. So they proclaimed that Cog should be king as well, and that threw everything out the window for all the people that lived in the land. They're like, okay, so not only do we have two kings, we're having three kings, and one of the kings is their bodyguard, royal general dude. So they were like super confused, and everybody was just like, they wanted to kind of just be like, sayonara, peace out, but they didn't know where to go because during this time, the city of Babel, like, completely and utterly collapsed. Some dude started to wage war against another nation nearby to, like, try and get resources, and it broke out into a war. Then the city of Babel had a huge argument of whether they should go and stop that war. And then they were like, well, who's the main leader and stuff? And yeah, it just broke down and collapsed, and the entire city was engulfed in flames as everybody fought over who should rightfully rule the one kingdom, because having multiple voices and sayings isn't gonna work. You need one clear voice ruling over all the land. But because nobody wanted to give up their lands, they fought for it. And the city burned to the ground and was completely and utterly destroyed due to the fight with these nations over the land. And they all broke up and scattered, so people left the city and stuff and started making their own nations and countries and scattered all throughout the lands, forming their own group and whatever. But the main reason that the city was also, like, heavily destroyed is the Great Sickness. After it passed through, I probably should have explained this before I moved on, but whatever. But after the Great Sickness, 4 months after it, like, finally stopped and whatever, people started to have abilities and powers to do stuff. So people could move stuff with their minds, people could create fire on their body that wouldn't scorch them, people were flying, people were moving really fast, so people were gaining powers. And through the Great Sickness, to the ones that were, like, somewhat really healthy during the time, seemed to gain powers and abilities. So when the battle for the city of Babel started, a lot of the people had superpowers and using them and stuff, so that's why the city was destroyed so easily, because kings were using abilities and having people that have abilities fight other kings with abilities and using others, and it just was a fruitless war and battle. Yeah. So where was I? They made Cog King and had this, and the city of Babel was destroyed. Yeah. So in the year 5015, the the people were now calling them the three kings: Cog, Wilfis, and Mar. The three kings. Cog was in charge of all military tactics, whatever. He was the king over the military and law enforcement, pretty much. And Wilfis was king over all the uh, laws and diplomatic stuff and communications and whatever. And Mar was king over all the people, pretty much, like farming, trading, and other supply stuff. But yeah, that's what they were. But in 5015, they decided to grow and expand their borders. So Cog led an army through battle to conquer some of the regions around them, which were pretty much like small villages or like uh, tribes and stuff. So it was quite easy to subdue him. But a lot of people were worried because he was 15. He's like 15 at this time. So a 15-year-old leading an army, taking out tribal men who have slaughtered a bunch of travelers and other people and attacked villages and stuff, and then like fighting other villages also with like ex-soldiers and stuff living in them who left the kingdom that Cog, Wilfis, and are a part of, whatever the kingdom of whatever I said it was last video. I think it was Chan, the kingdom Chan. It could have been. I'm just, well, whatever. But yeah, he expanded his borders. He lost only 4 men of the entire campaign of expanding the borders. So a lot of people like accommodated him for that, but a lot of people were just like, yeah, well, it was only villages and tribes, and we lost 4 dudes. We should have lost no men. But the reason why they lost 4 men was they were up against one that was completely filled with just ex-knights and whatever. They were pretty much like special ops dudes. And yeah, they only managed to kill 4, so through that battle. Sorry that I yawned. I started stretching and yawning. Whatever. Okay. Well, yeah. So sorry again for having us have a video so late and whatever. I'm just gonna say whatever. Whatever, 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 whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. I hope you guys had a great time this holiday season, whenever. There I said it again. Whatever, 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 whatever. Okay. And hope you enjoy the rest of the time. Maybe we'll have more videos next year, and maybe get a better timing on stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, they expand their borders, and the kingdom, the city of Babel is no more. The most popular city of just like thought and theologically and whatever science and stuff. That one just quickly became Atlantis because all the scientists from Babel and scholars and stuff moved to Atlantis during the whole fall of the city of Babel, and it just boosted their growth. And so a lot of people with super intelligence moved to Atlantis, and they started creating stuff that should have never been created during that time, like hot air balloons. And cannons with cannonballs and gunpowder and stuff, that kind of cannons. Well, yeah. Bulbs out.